This podcast is sponsored by Magic Rock Brewing. Currently, you can get free delivery on all orders over £40 and 10% of all online orders by using our code of TakesThatChance10.
Jepson's there, Billy in, a goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life. Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town. Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted. Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hello and welcome to a special episode of the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. Today we delve into the process behind the Town kits and a little bit more as we welcome Huddersfield Town retail manager Luke Cowan and Huddersfield Town marketing manager Jonathan Wilkinson to the podcast. Joining myself, Matt Shaw, on this episode, we've got a man who Luke and his poor staff have to see half naked on the walls behind the tills of the Porter cabin, club shop every day. It's Dan Porritt, and joining us are Brady Frost and Simon Copland. So good evening, Luke and Jonathan. How are we doing?
Evening. Really good, thank you. Really good.
And Luke,
good, thank you.
Luke, I do feel for you having to look at that image of the of Pozza every day as you walk into work. It must be...
Listen, I heard that since that picture went up, so, merchandise sales have gone through the roof. So that's
last time I went in, I just looked and there was like you and Ollie Fisher, and I was like, oh god, here we are. But brilliant. Right, guys, I thought it would be quite good if we start with a couple of intros. I think people will be interested to know what you guys do, who you are, and how you're both Town fans, how you got into supporting Huddersfield, and your favourite moments, really. If you can, Jonathan, if you want to kick us off.
Yeah. So I'm market manager of the club. Started in March 2013. So I've been here for over 8 years now. A bit of my history. When I was 14, I told my careers advisor I want to be market manager at Huddersfield Town, and it all kind of went downhill from there, really. So saw the job advertised in the early part of 2013. Applied for it and got it, and then ever since been working behind the scenes. It's been an interesting kind of 8 years really with everything that's happened. But yeah, it's I've been a fan since birth. My great grandfather actually died at a game in the 1920s, and then all the way through been a young terrier. Saw Leeds Road show open of the new stadium, and then everything else that's come since then, really. So yeah, it's been great for me as a fan to do this role.
Go on then. If you had to pick one favourite moment, what would you go with?
I love the new stadium being built. I came down to watch it being built in 1993-94. So that was lovely to see the old, but then also the new. And a lot of people I know don't remember the old ground. So I love the fact that I remember Leeds Road and the cowshed and everything. The promotions are the easy one. Wembley 95 is probably my favourite from a fan point of view, but then obviously the penalty in 2017 and everything that came off the back of that was just magical. I know all of the planning and prep for that, and it all came off. So for instance, the open top bus that we designed, we had to do that in secret, and then there was only 1 in 4 chance that we would use that kind of thing. So all of the behind the scenes stuff that we got involved with during that period was really, really magical for us. And obviously the Premier League years were excellent as well.
How about you, Luke?
So retail manager for the football club. So I learned about the birds and the bees in Sunday League changing rooms with my old man going. So I've always sort of been brought up around football. And then my first season at Town was the 03-04 when we were League Two. It were my next door neighbours that actually used to bring me. So And I remember, and Johnny, I don't even know if we do still do these, but I remember getting a half-season card or a half-season ticket at that point. So that was a really proud moment for me. Probably favourite moment, there's probably a couple. So Cardiff was really special just because that was my first playoff. I'll never forget the journey down. It felt ages, a massive drive on the coach, but yeah, really, really special. And I still, to this day, hammer Boovy for missing. I don't know if everyone remembers. They were a bit where
the chip.
Chipped, yeah. So I get to hammer him like daily about nowadays for the heartache that he sent us through to penalties. But weirdly, another one that always sticks in my mind, we played Burnley a couple of years ago. I don't think it was Premier League. I think it was Championship potentially at the time. And old man were in the bright yellow shirt. Do you remember when we first did the yellow one, Johnny? I think 13, 14. It was just complete yellow. Bovril all over it. Brilliant moment. I'll never forget. It was just fantastic. But yeah, no, it's been a real roller coaster ride. I started just after Johnny, so I've just been here just over 8 years as well. So yeah, incredible journey.
Bovril sounds like a really good shirt design idea, doesn't it? For the it sounds very similar. Fantastic. So what we'll do is we'll talk about the kits. Really, is the first thing on our agenda. The home kit's out and it's a beauty. I think it's great. You know, I'm a big fan of the black socks. So when the black socks came back, you know, that was I'm sold already. You know, it doesn't matter about the rest of the kit. It's all about the socks for me. And could you tell us about the life cycle of the design and the implementation phase of the kit? Because I understand the whole process starts quite way back, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're not wrong. So, I mean, right from the off, Umbra will send us a request to sort of get together. So that comes sort of 18 months prior to the season starting. The work group that we put together is a mixture of people at the club. So myself, Jonathan goes in it. Dave, from a communications point of view, is the communications director. Phil, chairman or dean, as it used to be. Mark Devlin comes in there as well. And Ian as well, Ian Bertley. So from a commercial aspect. So there's quite a collective that we get together, and then really it's all about a critical path, sort of like a workflow, which the first instance is, look, you know, you put ideas together. What's something? Is there any historical moments that we can pay tribute to? And then it sort of goes in stages of design feedback, and then you feedback on that. And then you get to the point where you get to the design where everybody's happy, club and Umbra, and then pursue from there. And then you look to officially sign off at least sort of 12 months in advance. So the 22-23 kits are done and dusted already. So there's quite a bit of time involved in it.
So who does the design itself, Johnny, or Luke, whichever one wants to take this? But so who does the design? How hard? One thing that obviously Poz is wearing a blue and white top there, down there with the red terrier. So that's, what's that, Poz, 69, 70, something around there? Yeah, so he's wearing that. But how hard is it to reinvent blue and white stripes every year? So every 12 months, there's a new blue and white stripe kit. You know, you can alter the color, maybe the width of the stripe. Steve and John asked, Steve and John asked if these are just templates or whether you guys get to pick what goes on.
This year's a little bit different. So we've known we want to do a tribute to the FA Cup winners for probably 7 years. So we had to work that backwards from there to make sure that we didn't have one that was similar to that kit the season before. So there's kind of a loose structure of how we can do it, so that they differ a bit year on year. So the FA Cup one's a little bit different. I can fill you in a little bit about the Umbra stuff, and I'll let Luke talk a little bit about the design itself. But the Umbra process, we contacted Umbra and said we wanted to do a 1922 kit, and they said great idea. Have you got a kit from the actual final itself? So we went into the storage in the boardroom and pulled out that kit, and literally stood there and examined it, you know, and looking at the style and the color and things like that with Umbra's kind of design team. They took hundreds of photos of it just to try and get a feel of what it looked like, and then took that back to their offices in Manchester and pulled it together for us, really. we were pushing. We wanted to have the Yorkshire Rose on there more prominently, but the FA and the AFL regulations basically have stopped us doing that. So we went to Umbra and kind of argued that we wanted something on there to represent that Yorkshire Rose from the final, which is why it's kind of imprinted within the shirt now. So it's not always as easy as you perhaps think of doing the kit that you want, because we're bound by the regulations of the league. But we try, for instance, with this one, tried our hardest to get that kind of feel and mantra with it, really.
What just out of interest there, Johnny? Sorry, what is the regulation? I'm presuming you've got to have it's another sort of crest, maybe. So you've got your club crest, you've got the Umbra. You're not allowed a third.
Correct. So Luke will know the sizes, but there's limits to how big your sponsor can be across the front, but then also your crest can't be like 3/4 of the shirt or anything like that. So
yeah, a little sort of pocket to extension of that. Johnny's right. So what the FA will always come back to you and say is that you can edit the crest for an anniversary. So, like with the centenary, we had the writing, didn't we? So you can edit the crest, so the way we get around it with the Yorkshire Rose is that the Yorkshire Rose is actually with our crest. So it's almost like an extension, but it has to be a monotone, which is why it's so subtle, if you know what I mean. So we get around it with this season coming up.
It's nice. I quite like the.
I think
it's a really nice little touch. You were going to pass over, weren't you? The inner workings of how the consultation process, weren't you, and how we came across with the kit.
Yeah. So the very first consultation is a bit of a collective of Umbra will bring together their feedback of where they think we are as a club and whether we've had the set design for X, Y, and Z, as it were. And then we'll bring things to the meeting to say, well, do you know what? Actually, we need this. We want to carry that through. So like Johnny said, from a pipeline point of view, tradition's incredibly important, and obviously history and heritage. We know that this kit is a celebration. We know that next year. Now then, Johnny, I'm testing my history. What were runners up next year? We're runners up in the cup or something?
No.
Were we not? Were we nothing next year?
But the season after is
So the season after is the start of Thrice Champions for us. So at that point, we know that we're going to have to celebrate that in a way. At the minute, we don't know what execution that looks like, but we have a pipeline and we know where we're going to be for that season. So at that point, then Umbra will take our feedback. They'll look at what they can do with their design consignments and things, whilst we don't actually have a template. So one of the parts, and which actually allude us to Umbra, was we can have our bespoke kits. So we have, it's not so much a silhouette, as it were, with Umbra. Whereas you see there are other manufacturers of kit supply that do like the same kit, just in a different colorway, as it were. Like the internationals are quite like that at the moment, aren't they? With the Euros, there's quite a few that look very similar, for example. So, and then Umbra will bring back as to what they feel fits our mantra and what our expectation was. And then from there, it's another conversation, another consultation of, well, could we actually add that in? Could we do that? A really nice detailed piece in this one is to honour the team that started that match in the back of the neck. How can we get them into it? What can we do with, even right down to the tags in the back of the garment and things, that's in like a vintage finish. So it really is in keeping with the whole package. But yeah, it's an interesting process, I've got to say.
It's difficult for us because we could go to someone like Nike or Adidas and get a kit deal. But the problem is then you will get the shelf Nike and Adidas shirts in the main. And we're a little bit, we don't think that's right for us at this moment in time. And we would prefer it to be the blue of Huddersfield Town that we think is the right blue, rather than it being an offset of blue and things like that. So change, but at the moment we think Umbra is the right way to go, because we can get things like the 1922 shirt that our fans hopefully will love and buy in the droves.
And sorry, Johnny, Luke, just on that theme then, how does Umbra compare to Puma? Obviously, we had previously. Is there kind of lots of similarities between that process, or is there actually some kind of quite stark differences that you attracted you guys to Umbra kind of a couple of years since?
To be honest with you, Umbra and Puma, I would say very, very similar, actually. Very, very sort of similar. The only thing that we used to find maybe a little different is the training wear execution. Like one of the big things that with Umbro that certainly Kitman Brookie really, really liked was so skins undergarments. And look, at some people won't even bat an eyelid at it. Others, it will absolutely drive them nuts. When you see skins that are a different colour to the shirt, things like more in football. Yeah. Well, so whereas Umbro will do bespoke skins to match your kit, so it actually looks like it's an extension of it. But there are some companies that, you know, it's just so far off. It's unreal that they somewhat get away with it. But so these little things, and then obviously from an Umbro point of view, well, I mean, this is going back to obviously the kit deal scenario. We've had Umbro before. From a tradition point of view, it's obviously in the English game, it's massive. So we'd had his time with Puma. It felt like a change was the right thing to do. But as Johnny alluded to there, and look, you know, with all due respect, I'd like to think we're quite approachable on social media and things, and I'll certainly, and Johnny as well, you know, we'll certainly look to answer things. And we see all like when are we going to have an Adidas kit and things like that, you know, and this is no detriment or criticism of Adidas, but we went over there when we were looking at kit deals and things, and the offering just wasn't right, or what we felt wasn't right for Huddersfield Town fans, because you would literally be buying a classic example, actually. Leicester City did it, didn't they, Jonathan? You remember that one? So Leicester City had an away kit that was an off-the-shelf Adidas, and literally you put a crest on it, you put the sponsor on it, and what is a £19 shirt on Adidas World is all of a sudden been retailed at 50 quid. Now, I'm not going to say perfect, but I would hope that we would do our due diligence to try and avoid things like that for a Town fan, because, you know, irrelevant to our size, we're what we care about at the end of the day, if you know what I mean. So we're always looking, but that's where we were with Umbro, again, sort of like a Puma situation, then Adidas, Nike and all the rest, as it were.
No, that's good.
Interesting. You mentioned
the right badge, aren't you, Simon? That's what I was just going to wade in there. You're buying it for the badge on the left rather than the one on the right, which is what I think.
Yeah, 100%. Now, it's interesting you mentioned talk about skins and such, because I'm a bit of a traditionalist. I love the long sleeve shirts that kind of years gone by, but they're very few and far between, if at all, now, aren't they? Because everyone's got these skins for performance enhancing and such like that.
Yeah, well, so the story of long sleeve shirts, and you know, just a random conversation. So with numbers, and this is very similar in fairness, it was the same somewhat with Puma, would have to order. I think the minimum for a long sleeve shirt is 1,000 units, and would never really sell that many. There's always, probably like you, Simon, I'm assuming, there's always a real close following to long sleeve shirts that snap them up straight away, but it's never enough to sell out of them, if you know what I mean. And then just look from a complete selfish point of view with me and my team, they look exactly the same in a bag, and it's like, and then you just want to get the wrong one, and it's like somebody's put them on the wrong shelf, and then it's a nightmare. But look, we'd work around that, of course we would, if the numbers were right.
No, that's forgive me, I'm more kind of in terms of players themselves. Actually, you don't see many players playing in long sleeve shirts full stop anymore, because they've all got these kind of undergarments and such. But yeah, I think kind of it's interesting. There's always a kind of few hardcore fans who've probably historically always bought long sleeve shirts and kind of want to continue that tradition. But like you say, the MOQ is probably getting in the way.
Yeah, well, the big one nowadays are keepers as well. Like, you know, keeper shirts. Even to when I started this position, it were almost unheard of to have a short sleeve keeper shirt. Now, that's what they want. That is literally what they want for that reason, Simon. They just wear short sleeve keeper shirt with a skin underneath that matches. They're happy as Larry. I don't think Ryan wore a long sleeve shirt last year, but don't crucify me if that's wrong. I can't picture him in one.
Say back in the day When
me and Matt
Simon
grew up in the days of goalkeeping with big shoulder pads and big kind of elbow pads and that sort of thing.
I was just going to say, do you not remember the bright orange one I used to wear? This is like 2007 now, but 2007, 2008, I used to wear a bright orange goalkeeper top. It was a little bit of an in-joke because we played for a team in green and white stripes, and but it was a little in-joke with the manager. And so I used to have a black Under Armour, sort of really skin-tight Under Armour, and then bright orange shorts. And I even bought bright orange socks and boots to go with it. And the idea was that it was supposed to be bright, so you would put the striker off, and conceded absolutely loads that season, so it didn't work.
Do you remember the Steve Francis one that looked like a paint explosion?
Yes.
Yeah, the Pulse. I was just going to mention that. I had both versions of that one, I think, as a kid. I want to keep it, but just because it was so mental.
The yellow one. I like the yellow one. There was like a yellow one, which was fantastic. Yeah. I don't want to go too far into those old kits because we've got a quiz coming up, and obviously we don't want to jog each other's memories as to what's going on, do we? So we need to keep that competitive edge. One of the questions that came in from social media from Oliver Eaton as well, Luke, I think this might go to you, was what are your thoughts on like a central crest placement? I think, trying to think if this particular kit is in the quiz. I don't think it is, but quite a long time ago, there was a black shirt that came out mid-thousands, and there was a central crest at that point. Is that anything that may or may not come back at some particular point?
Yeah, I mean, from our point of view, if it becomes a fashionable thing, absolutely, why not? It probably actually makes sense from a point of it's something that you can change quite easily to a blue and white striped shirt. So yeah, I guess the answer is yes. So we haven't really thought about it internally. I think that's fair to say, but yeah, it certainly could. Umbra wouldn't be against it, in fairness. So maybe in the future, who knows?
Yeah, so there you go.
Strange one with kits though, because if you brought that in, you get a percentage that would love it and then a percentage that would hate it. So you can.
I'm in the hate camp. In case anyone's wondering, I'm in the hate camp. Kind of quite like I'm quite a symmetrical person.
Yeah.
So yeah.
See by the shelf in the background, can't we?
Yeah. But that's, I guess that's the beauty of kits and probably the beauty of your guys' job, that presumably you'll never please everyone, like it or not. Everyone has different opinions, and kits are quite subjective, aren't they?
Absolutely. Although to be fair, this year the feedback we've had on this year's new home kit is probably the best we've ever had, and I'm not saying that because we're on here. Genuinely, we've gone through and people have done the votes and things like that, and the reception has been incredible. So we're quite happy this year.
I think Town fans are quite traditional anyway. Maybe because we used to be good many years ago, so you hark back to the, traditionally we were good. So if we have a traditional kit, it might make us good again. But I'm certainly a big fan of the new kit, and I do like it because it is, as a kit should look for me, simple, blue and white, to the point. Again, I'm with Matt, the black socks for me, I always think they look really nice. Again, a little bit different. Not many clubs have black socks with the white shorts and stuff like that. So it's good to see that design, and it is a little bit different from last season and previous seasons for that. And just sort of moving on to that season by season changing design. Obviously, Matt sort of discussed the difficulties in churning out a design that's different but not too different to move away from tradition. But I always remember as growing up as a kid, we always seemed to change the kit every 2 years. We keep the away kit for 2 years and almost change the kit season by season, one home, one away, one home, one away. Now we have got into the habit now of having 3 kits. Again, a third strip as I were younger never really existed. It were only in extreme circumstances that you need a third shirt, and now it's the norm to have 3. And I'm just, for those fans out there, probably I'll admit, like myself, that think that's a little bit unnecessary. Probably from I've got 2 young boys, and every year it's cost us 3 new kits. They want all 3 because that's just how it is. I had to make do with one that were 3 sizes too big in the hope that I'd grow into it. What brought about that change? Obviously, I appreciate commercial income behind ticket sales. I'm presuming, without hospitality being included, that kit sales are one of the biggest money makers for the club. Was that the reason that we change every year now, all 3, or is that just how football has become across the land and we just fit in with that? Were it a conscious decision or an unconscious, what sort of brought that about? I
Yeah.
can see you smirking there, Luke.
No. It's a good question, Dan. And coming from a tradition of watching football, I know where you're coming from, and it's quite a complex answer because in one side, so I mean, look, the origins of a third kit for Huddersfield Town, whilst it's going back quite a bit, it used to be because predominantly we had a home sponsor and an away sponsor. And usually it used to be, I can't think the last season that we did it. I'm going to go promotion year, actually. So we had Pure on the home, and then we'd have Thornton and Ross with their two brands on the away and third. And basically it would be the commercial contracts for those sponsorships that said, at home we'll wear the home shirt, and then away we'll wear your brand, which is why we always needed a third kit, because in theory, we needed a change to the away. From then onwards, it's just become almost like a written thing that we do. And I think probably the majority of football clubs at this point now do it. And we just, we follow along. At the same time, you never want to, and this is where it's a different story again, because obviously the utility deal that the commercial guys have got over the line is now 3 years. But it's always been a case of always have the third kit just in case we go back to that scenario where the home and the away and the home and the away kits have to be a different sponsor. So it's that's always in the back of your mind. It's always in the back of your mind that you're quite right, Dan, as well. And I will be candid. From a commercial revenue point of view, retail is an important revenue stream to the football club. You wouldn't need me to sit here and tell you that. And obviously a third kit does help us. It gives us another bite of the cherry. And also, if you don't like the away kit, then hopefully we get you with a third kit and various other bits and bats. But yeah, that's the origins of it, I think, is probably where it came from, and now it's almost a natural sort of cultural thing now that we have 3 kits every season. But look, I understand it. I've got 2 children of my own. It eats into my bank account as well, I can assure you.
I've got one, and
you can't sneak a couple out of back garden, Luke.
I tell you.
Right, I think that nicely answers that, doesn't it? Poz wraps that up.
Yeah, brilliant. Like I say, one of criticism we just sort of to understand.
So you're trying to work in how to ask that without it coming across as I'm a tight so and so, and I can't afford
being tight, yeah.
Yeah, no, and at the same time, fellas, I'm not going to sit here and say it's not partially commercial, because of course it is. There's sitting here just lying about it. So I'd rather be truthful for you all, anyway.
No, that's appreciate it.
I mean, in fairness as well, like, every club has 3 kits. Like, I think it's been about 10 years, would you say, Luke, now? Like, almost every team, like, even teams in League 2 have a third kit. So to stick up for you there.
Speaking of kits, shall we move on to the quiz? This will be fun. So bear with me a second. So apologies to those who are listening to this, as you won't be able to see any of these questions that come up. It's a very visual PowerPoint quiz. Please don't criticize the slides that I have chosen to use, because I'm not great at it. Okay, so I will share my screen. Make sure I get the right one, otherwise you'll be coming back to each other. There we go. Right, can you guys see that?
Sure, those dodgy tabs down that before you start sharing screen.
It's all right. Yeah, I've only got 1 or 2 things open. Right, guys, can you see that?
Yeah, we can. Yeah,
fantastic.
Matt, I think you should have spoken to Jonathan about making that a bit more marketing-y.
I've gone with Arial Narrow. That's it. That was it. It was the default one at the top, and I thought, do you know what? I ain't got enough time to mess with the fonts. Right, who wants to go first? I think we'll draw up a list, and what I'll do is I'll alternate it every round. So, any volunteers for a first go?
Go on, I'll go first, because I can give them more option to moan.
We'll go with Poz first, and then anyone second. I'll pick someone if no one says. Right, Johnny, you're going second.
Yeah, I'll go second, yeah.
You're second on my list. Third, we'll go with Simon. In fact, no, we won't. We'll go with Brady. And then we'll go with Luke, and Simon will go last. that's not for any particular reason. It's just that Brady's usually up there, so it make quite good. Should make quite a good watching if someone can beat Brady. So let's.
Oh, you're setting me up here, Matt, to fail.
I know. Well, Jonathan's the favourite. He's nervous, I think. Right. So number one. So Matt's kit quiz. Don't moan if it's too hard for your Pozzer is the title, and I'm sticking with it. Right. Round one. Guess the season. So these are the home kits. So first is Poz. So Poz, can you tell me what year this strip is from?
It's when it's promotion season against Sheffield United.
Don't cheat by looking behind you either. I can see what you're doing.
2011, 2012.
Is the correct answer. So Poz, you've got more right this one.
Do we get a bonus point if we know the player in it?
Who is the player in it, John?
That's just showing off.
I think it's Peter Clark, if I remember correctly.
Peter Clark, yeah.
Is the great man himself. Right. Okay. So second is Mr. Wilkinson. Right.
I think that's. Ooh, let me think.
Fresh out.
15.
Say that again. Sorry.
14, 15.
There we go. He's off and running. Simon and Brady are looking nervous now. Number 3. So this is Brady.
I'll just do
got a bit more scope for this, Brady, because this is one of the kits that Poz mentioned that went on for more than one season.
I'll do a Pozzer and check my wall where I've got all my answers like framed.
Prison wall does that, Brady?
Is it 97 to 99? Ah, damn it.
I think the 97. No, I'm not going to say just in case it pops up, but it's slightly different. Right. So next is Luke.
Go on then.
That's so easy as well. It's so
easy. It's on the badge.
That is the centenary kit, 2008.
Is it 2007-8 or is it 2008-9?
Should be 8-9.
Oh,
have I got that? Yeah, go on, yeah.
I thought that might throw a spanner in if it's 8-9 or 7-8. I thought that might be they won't get it. Right, Simon.
Oh.
Oof.
16-17.
You sure about that?
No.
We're going 16-17?
Yeah. Oh, you're out.
It's the season before. Right, guys, that is round 1 of the quiz. And just to whet your appetite, the next one is alternative shirts. Guess the season, but we're going to stop sharing right there. Right. So we'll move on to our next section here as I just move my bits and bats around on the screen. Right. Okay. So we've talked about the design and the implementation phase of the kit now. And obviously once you've designed it, you've implemented it, it's coming from wherever in Umbra. Is it Turkey or something? There's a manufactured over there or something.
There's a few places, to be honest.
Yeah, we won't talk about the leaked picture last time. Obviously, they come from all over. They're in. You guys now sit together and you go, right, how are we going to sell this kit? How are we going to get the people of Huddersfield interested? This is a great kit. What's going to get everybody? What's going to get me, Poz, Simon, and Brady to buy this shirt? So, what in terms of marketing, can you tell us specifically what decisions are made? Obviously, talk about the current campaign as well, which I thought was really good with the 1922 FA Cup winners. And doesn't Ernie Islip's grandson just look exactly like him as well in the video? That was absolute spitting image. But just tell us about what an ideal kit launch looks like as well, and the decisions that you make before the kit goes on general sale.
Yeah, you want me to jump in, Luke, where you see fit. But
yeah, this is you, mate.
We like to tell the story with it. I think it's probably the best way of putting it. And every year, if you look back, there's always kind of that angle. The 1922 one, as I said, we've been working on for literally years to try and do those players justice, really. And I think we've done that quite well. Regards to the actual marketing of it, this year we got together kind of February, March time, having known that we'd be doing kind of the retro kit, sat down and kind of worked with the what we call the Marcoms team, which is marketing and communications, and literally storyboarded how we thought it could be launched. we did something similar with the season card campaign, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen, with the passionate kind of story of what you miss at a football game. So we have, in essence, a brainstorm of ideas, which pulls everyone's thoughts together, and that's the point where people can discuss it. Then I head up the team that kind of goes away and looks at that and decides how it will look and feel. So we work with our in-house designer to kind of put a little bit of scope to that and how it can look. We then bring that back to the group and say, this is kind of what direction we're going in. There'll be a second kind of set of conversations then of, well, how about this, how about that? And then that might change it a little bit. And then from there, we kind of just drive on to make it happen based around when we're wanting to launch. The biggest challenge for us often is getting players in kit. So we often have to photograph it kind of in April, May time to try and get the players in it, so that when we launch, they're generally sat on a beach in elsewhere, generally, not this year. And then we get it photographed and ready to go. Umbra send their photographers in and pull all that side together, and then supply us with the artwork, which we can then use for posters and social media posts and everything that you guys will see, and go from there, really.
How hard is it?
Sorry, Matt, has the pandemic impacted you in any way this year in terms of how you'd have liked to have marketed the kit? Anything you would have done different had we not been living in the surreal world that we are living in right now?
Other than it's been quite hard, we've had to do things like we can't have the same player wearing the kits. Normally we get 3 or 4 players and just pass the kits on. Things like that, we just had to be really, really careful with. We've had to sterilise kits after players have worn it, and that's one of the main reasons why, if you look at the 1922 families, there's only Molly, I think, who's got the kit on, because we just couldn't take the risk of the COVID side. So it has impacted us a little bit. We've been probably lucky a bit that we had quite a strong story. This story, like I say, we've been working on for years, so we were ready to go with it. The things that we've done in the past with kit launches that we just couldn't have done this year. So not as much as it could have, I think, is probably the answer to that question.
Yeah. Last year was probably the worst affected, wasn't it, Johnny? Because so last year, from Umbra's photography point of view, we couldn't arrange a kit shoot with them because obviously the restrictions were at their sort of strongest at that point. So we ended up getting, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Lewis O'Brien and Edmonds Green with a home and the away kit together, because it was literally just a case of we had really limited time, limited resource, everything. And then we involved some of the Huddersfield Town ladies as well. But everything was socially distanced. Everything had to be put together. And it very tricky last year, but this year's been a bit easier, hasn't it, Johnny?
Yeah.
So when you get together then, Johnny, how difficult is it to get fresh ideas? There's obviously thousands of kit releases. There's huge marketing departments in Liverpool, and Man City must be huge, you know, the entire marketing department there, and they've got Adidas and Nike on the back of it, etc. also with lots of input. So how difficult is it to come up with, obviously we've got the FA Cup this year, which is a really good one, but how difficult is it ordinarily to get a fresh kit release which is slightly different to everyone else's?
Yeah, it's hard, but in another way it's quite easy, which I know contradicts itself. It helps that a lot of us that work at Town are actually fans of the club, so we get a real feel of the things that matter. So we're quite adept at understanding the kind of Town fan. Things like the Ray Wilson kit, when we did that in 16-17 to commemorate the England 50 years since we won the World Cup. It's stories like that really come to a lot of us when we're lying in bed at night and think, oh, that might work. And we're kind of planning all the way forward. So we're already thinking about what we're going to do for the thrice champions. So you mull it over in your head. I'm sure, like you guys all do when you go home after work. You're thinking about these things all the time. So really, we kind of throw it open to all the people within that group that Luke alluded to before, and come up with ideas of kind of concepts for kit, and then it kind of comes from that really. We might see a kit that we like, others do, and maybe do a Huddersfield Town twist on it and things like that. So it can come from that sometimes. But there's various reasons. It's always done internally. We work with Umbra. Umbra can bring ideas to the table as well. But it's just a combination of kind of all them factors, and then we pull that meeting together when we want to decide what kit we're going to do, and then it kind of grows from there really.
So
Just,
kit timings. So no, go on, Brady. I'll come back to mine.
Sorry, just interested to get your thoughts on this, though, Jonathan. And you mentioned all you guys being fans and kind of having an input on the kit. Have you ever considered, or perhaps in the past, speaking to fans and getting their thoughts on kits that aren't released, or would that be a bit of a? I know COVID's made things a bit different.
I would think just thinking exactly the same there, mate, like a focus group type thing.
It's the lead time on them, really, if I'm honest, and Luke can talk a bit more about that. But we talk to All Together Town panel about things like that, and we get a grasp of it. We do a lot of reading online. We read down the Mac and Twitter and things like that, and try and get a vibe of what people.
Lucky you.
But
Let's change my username.
A lot of people, I think that we decide what kit we're playing in April, and then it arrives in kind of May, June time, and the lead time on it is so long that it's quite hard to ask people because they expect it instantly, and it just doesn't work that way in Umbra's world really. So I'm sure we'll talk a bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the theory of almost the Osborne effect, where you'd almost don't want somebody thinking about something before the actual thing that's going to be in front of them is out. So, like we said, the 22-23 kits are done and dusted now, and were before even the release of the home kit. And obviously, we've still got the away and third to come. So, whilst it would make logical sense that the fans, who at the end of the day, the ones that are going to buy it, would have a say in it. It's almost just that lead time side of it, which is almost like the biggest off-put. There are manufacturers and kit manufacturers out there with, I don't want to say a lesser brand because that'd be unfair, but not as in the brand position as like an Umbra or a Puma or something, that actually have a lot lesser lead time. So they can influence and use fans, but we're just not in that position at the moment.
No, I mean, I get that. I mean, we disagree about things between four of us in a WhatsApp group. So I imagine if you've got loads of fans involved, it maybe dilute than actually help.
And of course, obviously, there's fans working at the club, isn't there? So you've still got that there as well, which is obviously good to hear. One of the things I wanted to, just a general question, really, and it's probably very easily answered with lead times, like you mentioned, but the kit timings. I'm going to do a Poz hearing and say back in our day, kind of go back there. I remember back in the day, I've used the word, the other phrase. They used to come out before the season ended, and then they used to wear them, didn't they, in the last game of the season? Is it the lead times and the whole build-up which renders that this isn't possible anymore? Because you must still get loads of people saying, can't you get these out for my summer holidays because I want to go to Marbella and have my new shirt on and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a frustration for us a little bit. I mean, we wouldn't do that this year because the anniversary of the 1922 final is late April. So it would seem wrong to have a full season of playing in that kit. And then when we get actually to the point where we celebrate 100 years, then we're playing a new kit. So it depends how the fixtures fall, but I'm not sure if we could do that this year. Luke, it's probably one more for you that of the lead time.
Yeah. I mean, there's two things we can talk about at this one. So the first influence with kit, usually, I'm not going to say always, but usually is the sponsorship scenario. So, I'm sure as open and honest as I can is probably the best answer here. So if we haven't got the sponsor signed off by December the 1st, then that sponsor can't be applied on the kit at production. So that automatically adds 4 to 8 weeks of sponsoring time in the UK. So even if, for example, kit was delivered on UK shores beginning of June, you still would be looking at sort of a mid to late July for an actual delivery into the business sort of thing. Now, we probably would have been sooner if it wasn't for we would have been sooner if it wasn't for obviously the disruption that's still sort of going on around the world. Now, we are in probably, what, Johnny, the first situation since the promotion year 16-17 where we've got a deal with Utilita that is X amount of years. So we're actually in a point where we've got the kit signed off, we've got the sponsor signed off. So on paper, they shouldn't be, providing the world obviously gets back to a whatever normality is nowadays. There shouldn't be any delays on next year. So that's kind of the story with that. The reality is, me and Johnny, like Johnny said, the earlier the better. Father's Day is obviously a huge opportunity for us. Then kit launch season start, and then obviously Christmas. So the sooner we can get it out, the better for us.
No, great answer. You guys got anything more on marketing before we move on to the second round of the quiz?
Yeah, just quickly. Obviously, you talked about Utilita and you've got this 3-year deal. Have you ever had an incident where the sponsors maybe push back on the kit, like they don't like how it's presented, or maybe their logo's not big enough, or anything kind of like that?
I think generally they've been pleasantly surprised, haven't they? Really, I can't think of when they've said no.
A sponsor never influenced the kit. So I mean, a little bit of credit to Utilita actually with this one. They allow us to change the colour on the front of their branding so that we can use that to actually fit with a kit sort of thing. Been an issue? No, I wouldn't say there hasn't been, certainly whilst I've been at the club, a situation where a sponsor has fought back or said, actually, would prefer that or would prefer that, as it were. So
we've helped them a bit. I know we develop on the 16-17 away kit, the one that we got promoted in at Wembley, on the back of the shorts is the develop, which is going to be white. And I think with a respect to Brookie, he had a chat with him and said, look, this will be a lot better in a luminous yellow because it'll blow against it. So if anything, we've probably helped the businesses to get the maximum exposure for their brand. So it's a partnership thing. It's working with them at the levels that we can to make sure that they get the maximum exposure for their brand, which is exactly how it should be, really.
Cool. I think it's the next round of the quiz, isn't it? So let me share this screen again. Right. Okay. I almost stopped the recording and that wouldn't have been good. So share screen 2. There we go. So round 2, alternative shirts. Guess the season. So I've gone for a particular theme. I didn't have time to change that from Ariel Narrow. Sorry, Brady. So we'll sketch over that. We'll move over that quickly. So Johnny, we'll go with you first this time. So we'll do that on a rotating basis. So Johnny, you go first this time, then Brady will go first next time, etc. Right. So number 1. Give me a second.
Oof.
Number 1. What season was this kit brought in?
I'm going to go 14. So 14-15 or 15-16. I'm going to go 15-16.
It's a good job you changed your mind there.
Yes.
I thought it were going south then. I
think my eyebrows must have given that away. My eyebrows are going north.
We play many games in that. I don't really recall us playing that many games.
I just remember Sean.
Luke, you got a story about that, haven't you?
So that kit was a tribute to the forces. It was a great. Well, it was an odd fur kit when it came, but at the time, Dean wasn't too fond of it, so we didn't play in it hardly. It were literally. It wasn't. It were nothing. We didn't actually need it often either. So, but yeah, that's why it didn't make many appearances. I think We played in it at Wolves. I remember Wolves away, Johnny, but maybe two.
I don't think we won in it. I think we lost 3-1 at Wolves, and then we played again somewhere else and lost.
Yeah.
And we never lose at Wolves, do we? So obviously it's a.
I know, it must have been bad luck. And then we just didn't play in it really. It's quite unusual for us. That.
Right, Brady, you're next.
Oh,
what a shirt!
I feel the pressure here.
One of my absolute favorites.
That is the best shirt away we've ever.
I've got 2 of these upstairs. I don't know how I've got 2 of them, but I've got 2 still from the original date that I'm not going to give because it'd help Brady.
I've got a story about that kit actually.
Getting a proper mind blank here. I don't know. No, this is wrong. 91. Yeah.
Close, but sadly not. Right,
Yeah,
Luke.
I'm doing well in this quiz.
I know the Incredible Hulk's going to burst out any minute. He's not that bad, I'm joking. Right, so Luke, you're next up. Oh, he got an easy one. He got an easy one.
No, we say it's easy, but I should know it. We've done retro shirts many a time. Flipping heck. Literally, this is beyond embarrassing. It's 94? 95? Flipping heck. I'm sorry. I'm going to offend every fan shirt. Literally, I've got one behind my desk because we use it often as a kit.
1991 to 1990.
Bit sooner. Sorry,
Goal is still going. Goal is still a company. I don't know.
Don't know.
Not
so.
sure.
So I'll pass.
Right, who's next? Simon, you're next.
Right.
Even got a tag in. Brand new with tags.
What are we on now? 1819.
I thought no sponsor on there might just throw it.
We put 3. How many shirts out do we put out, Luke? Then
that was the gift from the board, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
3,000 shirts, something like that.
No, I think it was just shy. That were unreal. That took a heck of a lot. I didn't realize theirs were that big. Yeah.
I think I've got one upstairs somewhere. I think I ended up with a triple XL upstairs. But it was just brilliant to get one. To be honest, it was a really good thing for the club to do with that, and mine's upstairs somewhere.
It were a bit mental walking through Southampton on the way back, and these great videos, isn't there, of like people getting the flight back up, and it's just like a yellow flag. So brilliant.
Poz, you're the last one.
Oof. I seem to remember James Vaughan wearing that kit, so somewhere around that time. When were Varney with us? Grayson era, wasn't it, as well, that sort of time, just for a couple of seasons in Championship. 13, 14 or 14, 15, one of them two maybe.
What year was
I'll go with 14, 15. 12, 13.
You're right.
This year back in Championship.
It was the only year Grayson was there, wasn't it? That was the I thought you were going to get that then, but never mind. So that means that Johnny's got 2 and he's out into the lead. So the favourite takes the lead. Luke looks devastated. And
how did he not get that one? That's our best selling away shirt.
That is a shocker. I can assure you now that literally my inbox for the next year is going to be an email every
Whenever it comes up on and anybody gives it 1 out of 5 stars, I get really offended because it was an absolute icon of a shirt, wasn't it, back in the day? I remember them saying like they were using it on like London catwalks and all sorts back in the early 90s.
Carnaby Street and everything.
Yeah, stuff like that. And now people just go, what an horrible shirt. And when we brought it back it was the first season of the Premier League, it was one of the shirts, wasn't it? And I remember away fans, or not away fans, but fans of other clubs going, what terrible shirt that is. And I was just like, you're wrong.
I remember
sorry, but
they did a poll I think it Match of the Day or something like that. And they said, "Oh, what is this kit?" And then every Town fan commented underneath of, "You don't know what you're on about, because this is iconic for
no respect. No respect. That's what it is.
I know. Unbelievable.
Right, and same with that kit, sorry, that was always planned for the season after, but because of the Premier League promotion, it got brought forward. Or have I kind of completely made that up?
We always had that kit, didn't we, Luke?
Yeah, if anything, the Premier League somewhat curveballed that kit. Because weirdly, so that was always going to be the third kit that year. But obviously, I mean, as always, because we were that far in advanced order in it, we never expected to go up in it. So not only did we never expect for that kit to grace the Premier League, which is just a great thing, but at the same time, we'd only ordered like 1,000 of them, expecting like the people have buy it. It literally, well, I mean, look, all of you saw what happened during the Premier League, but it went on it first thing in the morning, and it was literally gone by like 11 a.m. It was just nuts, that kit.
I remember we put it on the train station, didn't we?
Yes, yeah.
In the morning, trying to get it sorted.
Yeah.
That was that season, wasn't it? Yeah.
I do remember that. And one of the comments that made me laugh was underneath was Earl Crabtree's just hung his laundry out. And I thought that was great. Right. So we're moving on to it's more away kit specifically now in this sort of section. And the first, I'm going to go to a tweet we got from @Minardi Forever. It says, "How are decisions made on away kits?" He says he's assuming a bright one is necessary, coral yellow. On what basis is the other one made? Is there a wish list for seasons with an eye to replica sales, etc., black, white, red, etc.?
Yeah, we work on the basis of trying to do a kit that the slightly older generation could wear with a pair of jeans in the pub, and then one which is a bit more weird and wacky for slightly more youthful angle, really. So it's roughly around that. Regards to colours, Umbra kind of brief us into what popular colours there are at the moment, and then every now and then we'll throw a retro in there as well, just to give a little bit more of a fever of past times, really. So it's a combination of all three, Luke, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I think the home is a standalone because we're blue and white, end of discussion. And then the away, like Johnny sort of said, the usual remit is we will always try and do one which is a little more subdued, and then one that's maybe a bit mental or a bit of a retro, or just some sort of USP sort of thing, or something that makes it unique and different. So that's what we try to tend to do with the aways.
Have you ever thought about doing something really random like that no one else has done? So like Man United brought out the zebra away kit, didn't they? Something maybe where you try and create something unique. I mentioned before, jokingly, purple and pink spots, etc. But has anyone ever thought, do you know what? Let's do something completely unique in the world of football. This obviously could fall flat on its face, couldn't it? And everybody would hate it. But have you ever thought, a little bit like the 91, 92, 93 shirt? Have you ever sort of thought about, let's do something really, really strange or really peculiar, and then see if that sells, and other things as well, like ever thought about maybe linking with a foreign club, for example? You look at, I think it's in Brazil where people can't wear their home kits for fear, I think Brazil and Argentina, for fear of people, attacking them in the street. So apparently over there, a lot of them wear, different shirts from across Europe and different ones, because that's the done thing. So, you could potentially partner with, I don't know, let's say Flamengo, because they're playing red and black, like some of our away kits. Has anything like that ever come up where you've kind of looked at that and gone, you know what, maybe people could walk around streets of Sao Paulo wearing blue and white shirts, or Argentina, because, we've taken on a similar sort of looking kit to someone else? That was just a mishmash of random ideas that I threw together.
Yeah. Johnny, you want to answer that
one? Well, breaking that down, no, we've not really done it more for the lead times, because the great ideas, but you've got to be, our heads are already in 23, 24, Luke, aren't they? So it's a theory that will be good, but it takes so much planning, and then you've got to make sure the other clubs involved. So I'm not saying no, but it would take a little bit more thought into it. Have we ever thought of anything pink and polka dot? Probably not, for the simple reason that we think we get absolutely killed by our fans if we do something. There's a very fine line between it being cool and being weird, I suppose. And you gotta play that line quite delicately, really.
Yeah, I did read not so long ago that I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was Nike. I could be wrong. It could be Adidas or one of the, the Nike or the Adidas, sort of the big majors. They sometimes almost set up a kit. So they will bring something out that does cause quite a lot of controversy. Like you just said there, Johnny, they'll bring out a kit that everyone hates, or knowing that they'd get a lot of feedback saying this is crap, go back traditional, knowing full well that the next kit will be really traditional. We can almost accept a year of 75% sales rather than 100% sales, knowing that because we'll listen to the fans and change it. Bearing in mind what I said about lead time is obviously out of the window. Have you ever thought about that sort of angle, almost creating a rubbish kit and then bringing out a really nice one to bring people back on side? Or is that
power a little bit, isn't it?
Really risky move.
Honestly,
obviously, I think someone like really. Barcelona will sell a lot of shirts anyway. So
yeah,
probably won't indent them as much as like Town, but
I wouldn't. I mean, similar, but I wouldn't want to say our last home kit was rubbish because it sold really well. But we purposefully put the wider stripes on that in order to know that we were going to go for the thinnest this year. So we do. There is often a plan that fans can't see. So when people go, "Oh, the stripe's too wide, it's not traditional," it's hard for me and Luke because we know in 12 months we're going to go back to traditional. So I don't think we set out to make a bad kit, but we kind of factor it in, so we know what colour palette we'll be using for this year, and then we'll make sure that we'll use a different colour palette to that for. So a little bit of planning, but I think it's a dangerous thing for a traditional club like us to start putting weird and wacky out there, really. But
some of the ones I remember, Sheffield United did the pink one, Coventry did that famous brown kit as well, didn't they? And there's a few, isn't there? The Man United zebra one, but I can see where you're going. You have to be I think you have to be a club to absorb a lot of what comes in, and I don't know if Huddersfield would like it. Would the fans in particular I'm thinking of probably wouldn't like the exposure, maybe. Sometimes
the more leery kits and the more outrageous ones as well don't come into their own until sort of 20 years down the line. I noticed at the moment there's a massive demand for retro kits, and you look back and they are all the 90s sort of wild kits that at the time probably didn't sell that well, and that's obviously why they're well sought after, whereas now people see them as all the grey Liverpool candy kit, for example, and the Man United, the blue flashy sort of kit and stuff like that. As people seem to be really sought after the retro shirts at the moment. So I suppose
which is, to be fair, Umbra foresaw that and said to us, think about doing a retro at the meeting where we talked about the 22, the FA Cup one. So it kind of worked really well for us because we were like, well, that's what we wanted to do anyway. But you're right, if we did a pink and polka dot shirt, it's a balance between not being laughed at and having it becomes
doing it for the right reason, isn't it?
So hopefully we'll see.
I think pink and polka dot might be too far. I don't know where Matt's got that idea from.
It's all I could think of off the top of my head. It's what goes on inside here. It's very worrying at times. Yeah, there you go.
Just I was going to say, is there any other clubs you guys think are doing a really good job, or you kind of look to as like, oh, they're, I really like what they're doing in terms of their kits. Obviously, I know a big thing because we on the podcast we had Phil Delves, who's a bit of a retro kit collector, and all his job is talking about football shirts, and I know blackout kits are very in at the moment. But is there any kind of clubs that you like the cut of their jib and what they're doing with their shirts at the moment?
Yeah, you'd be surprised. We put a document together, Luke and I, probably a month before that first Umbra meeting, and literally have all of the designs that we have seen for that year that we think are cool. So Oxford, if you remember, had that slash across, which was quite a nice kit. So I know we looked at that, and then Juve and the kit they had previous to the one we've currently got now. So we throw all of this into kind of a big document, which is about 100 pages, Luke, remember right?
Yeah, it's a collection of things around.
And then we literally go through and almost the group go, yes, no, well, that might work. Let's have a look at that. So in answer to your question, it's the ones that you'd expect, but on the same hand, we wouldn't want to copy because it's important to us that Huddersfield Town is Huddersfield Town, and we don't want to get in a situation where we've got a Paris Saint-Germain rip-off kind of thing. So it's all about being inspired, but certainly not copy.
Cool. Yeah, you mentioned Blackout, and HTFC Dreams was one of the ones who said, well, would Huddersfield consider an all black away kit? But I'm guessing just from previously, nothing's off the table really, is it, going forward with designs for away kits?
No, we know the colours we've used. We know the colours we haven't used for a while. So we'll wait and see.
How many shirts do you typically sell then? I know there'll be different years, won't they? The Premier League years will be up here, and then the ones where we're not doing so well will probably be a little bit further down. But what's the average, would you say, for Championship? And do you know where towns sit, in comparison to other clubs in regards to that?
To be fair, when you talk to other clubs, we are probably right where you'd expect us to be with the amount of season card holders that we have. You're quite right that in terms of an actual number, it fluctuates that much that it's impossible to say this is exactly where we are. When we were Premier League year one, we sold 3 times as many home shirts. So it really does fluctuate with performance. The frustrating thing with shirt sales is you never want, obviously, to be left with loads. We've been down that, we've been in that trap, to be fair, before. So we always have to look at hopefully selling almost out, but it's very difficult because, like, for example, the promotion year, when you're going to be getting into the playoffs, it's way too late to do anything about that at that point because of the lead times that are surrounded around that kit. So yeah, it fluctuates with the numbers, I've got to say.
That's fine. I was going to ask which is the biggest selling shirt of all time, but I think Jonathan mentioned the 91-92 red and black one. Would that top the Premier League one, do you think?
No. Premier League would top.
Yeah, if you count how many times we've redone that shirt, it's sort of like Gav's its own. But yeah, no, the Premier League 3, the first year, way outweigh everything else, basically. The home, which in itself were a bit of a controversial shirt at the time with the bubbles. And then the away shirt, which I think we've got to give it him, haven't we, Johnny, that were predominantly Rookie's idea. The navy and pink pinstripe, and then the third shirt, which was obviously the redo of the goal,
which
it's interesting you say that about
before. A couple of years before, we talked about bringing that in, but I think we couldn't fit the colour scheme in with what we were planning on doing for one of them, if I remember right, Luke.
Well, we did try, didn't we? To be fair, Johnny, we brought it a away kit, but a modern version. I can't remember. I can picture Naki in it. So I'm going to go 50.
No, we went for the England 50-year one, which meant we weren't red the year after, which was a season. So then we did it the season after that to make it red again. Right. These are the sad conversations.
I like these conversations. Yeah, I'm sad enough to enjoy
It's interesting what you say though, Luke, about the first season Premier League kit, with the very similar to the sort of 99, 2000, 2002. So, for me, that were a modern take on that. And you mentioned the sales. It were a shirt that I particularly didn't like, but bought just because it's only in wardrobe now. And when, my kids are older, I can get it out and go, this was a shirt we wore in the Premier League. So I think sometimes the design, from a fan's point of view, doesn't particularly matter if it's it becomes more of a memorabilia than a merchandise, if that makes sense. And I'd imagine that a lot of fans did the same. I mean, I'd buy shirts, but I don't particularly wear them to match. They're more of a, to play footy in or around the house kind of thing. But like I said, that was probably one of those that you'd buy. It could have looked like and it would have been snapped up just for that. We can look back in 20 years and be like, oh, look at this shirt. This is what we were when we were in Premier League. So I think that, as you say, the sales of a shirt is not always dictated by how many season ticket holders we have. It's the period. And I'd imagine that if we get promoted in a shirt, you might find a massive influx at end of season, rather than beginning, because again, I want to look back and remember that. It's a little bit like the quiz. We can all look at those shirts and say, oh, so and so played in that, and I remember Akiwell scoring in that, and you ask what season it is, and you've no idea, but you can remember specific moments, and I think that's probably a big driver for sales.
I remember we got a fair bit sick. The Schindler shirt from Wembley, when we launched that, it was 50-50. A lot of people didn't like it, but now it's one of the most popular shirts we've ever done because people associate that penalty with that shirt, and that's it now. It's in Huddersfield Town history forever. So it's weird. It does change your mind when you look back a bit. I
actually didn't buy that shirt, and now I'm after one just now. Schindler's left. We're like, oh, I'd love one of them. If anybody's got a spare one for sale, let me know.
Right, fantastic. I've just realised I've not put an answer on one of these quiz ones, but I do know what the answer is.
So I just move on to the quiz. One from me. Be amiss not to move on from shirts without asking you both what your favourite shirt is, if you've got one over the last how many years.
John, do you want to go first?
I'm a shirt connoisseur, so I've got I must have approaching 150 Huddersfield Town shirts, maybe. So it's quite frightening the amount of shirts I've actually got.
Show off.
To decide on one, I mean, do you know what? The Wembley 95 one, I think, is probably the one for me. And we modelled the 16-17 one, the promotion season, on that. So it always, for me, gives good vibes that we always get promoted in that shirt. So maybe we should have that next year, Luke. But one of them, probably the Panasonic 95 one, is probably the one for me.
For me, and it's funny, we so a little bit of a background. We thought this question had come up, and we didn't want to pick the same shirt so that we didn't give you a bit of a naff answer. But for me, it's definitely the 16-17 Ray Wilson one, just because what that was. Alzheimer's sort of affected my grandma, so that were a big thing for me. But also, and we were talking about this, Johnny, and Matt, I think I'll be okay saying this one, but we got Ray in the office to sign a piece of paper that had to be sent to Puma head office to get on the kit. And we also got him to sign a ball. And Ray, and I think it was his son at the time, just walked into the office, and I was a little bit sheepish. I was a bit like, "Wow, there's a '66 World Cup winner in the office here." And I went, "Ray, can you just sign that ball for me?" And Ray's reply was, "Yeah, which one, lad? Left or right?" So I'll never forget that moment, and it'll be one that I'll sort of tell my grandkids and everything. That always has a story for me, and a real special place kind of thing.
On his Wikipedia, I mean, this is how sad we are, but on his Wikipedia, it actually has a paragraph about that, which, it means nothing really, but means so much to me and Luke, because we've worked on that kit, and a part of a bloke who did so much for English football. On his Wikipedia page is a paragraph about what me and him did. So it's quite, it's these little bits that this job gives you that you just blow your head, really. So it were a lovely kit, that, and obviously we got promoted in that season as well. So all came together.
I think not just the links to your job there, Johnny, as you've just said, but as fans, Luke's mentioned there about the Alzheimer's link, and there's always links in there within football. Everybody can draw a link from something that means something to them, and the kit is sometimes the spearhead and the figure of that. As I've just said, the moment, you don't know the season, you don't remember the result, but you can just remember the moment. And it's amazing just by looking at a football shirt. You probably sit in your mother-in-law's loft and look at your 150 shirts, Johnny, and remember and just think, oh, I remember this when we wore that, I remember that when we did that. And just by literally looking at a piece of material can bring back so many memories. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Let's move on to a quiz now before I get emotional.
No, forgive me, Poz, I've got to ask. So, second question, least favourite shirt. I don't know if you're expecting this one as well.
None of them are going to say, are they?
Yeah.
Oof.
No, I can give you mine straight away, and I'll be brutally honest as well. So people genuinely might hate me for this one, but here we go. 14-15, it was my sort of like, or it was certainly me and Johnny's sort of first year in there. And I remember going in saying, do you know what? We should really consider doing something a little different, you know, just change it a little bit, do something so that it stands out. And we faded the stripes. It came up in the quiz earlier on.
Tesco carrier.
Now, and I think it's a shocker. I really do. But partial and some of the blame definitely goes our way for that as well.
I don't know. I'm struggling to think about it. I wasn't a fan of the camouflage, if I'm honest. But I think that will come round. That'll be a collector's item, that one. It's not many people had it. I don't know. You can look back to the kind of 60s and 70s and probably pull out some bad ones, but
so when Town had blue home shirts, that's a bit of a shocker.
Yeah,
we'll go with that. Right, shall we go on to?
They just looked at me thinking, is there a full blue home kit in the making now? You've got everybody thinking now. Now we know our hands. It's like, do we read out facial expressions when we measure kit?
No, I don't think we think.
Move on, Matt. Move on.
Yeah. Tom Johnston's not coming back. No way. Okay, cool. We'll move on to the next round of the quiz, unless anyone's got anything else. Brady, Si? Anything?
Cool. No, good.
Excellent. Right, so it's round 3 of the quiz. I'm going to mix this up slightly because the first question is for Brady, and I think it's a bit too hard for him, so I'm going to give it you, Jonathan. I'm going to cheat slightly because I know you'll get the answer, and I know Brady wouldn't. So I'm going to give Brady
the second favorite.
It's I just feel a bit bad for him. That's all. So let's share the screen again.
Oh, if I get this now,
I know. I'm sorry if you do, but I don't think you will. I think Jonathan definitely will. Right. So we'll go with Mr. Wilkinson first. Can you guess the manufacturer? So this is the person who makes the kit, obviously. So the first one is.
Match winner.
Straight away. There you go. See, Brady, would you got that one?
No. Probably not.
It was indeed match winner. I've got one.
Is that the one we lost 10-1 in?
It is, yeah. It's a very infamous shirt. That's one that I think did we bring that back, Luke, at some point? Did that ever come back? Or
no. We've done a mug of it, but we've never brought that one.
That's it. It's a classic for all the wrong reasons, isn't it? The Malcolm McDonald.
Yeah, you're quite right.
Yeah. So Mr. Wilkinson is on 100% so far. So next is Brady. So we'll look back to you, Brady, on this one.
Pony.
Hey, Brady is off the mark.
I've got that shirt, so if I got that wrong, that would have been bad.
That's one of the classic ones, you know, what I mentioned earlier about doing something a bit different. I remember that was at the time was seen as something a little bit different and a step away from the norm, wasn't it? And it was more of a leisure. I think they sold it as more of a leisure shirt, you know, something that you could go to, like you say, go to the pub in or just hang around the shops and whatnot. Because I live in Leeds and they've had some over here. They've had what do you call them? The Italian one, which is really skin tight, and Macron and Kappa. And to see blokes in their 50s going to the shops wearing, you know, tight fitting Kappa shirts, whoever they support, is not the best of luck and not one I'm going to follow. But that one was definitely a classic. So Luke, you're up next.
Sorry, Matt, just quickly, just on that, I wore my version of that shirt to the playoff final, and there was an old guy who was wearing the same one as me on the tube, and the joy in his face when he saw someone else wearing this shirt. So,
a cult.
That's it. Again, talking about memories. There we go. That's one that always sticks with me.
Right then, Luke, are you ready?
Let's go. Oh.
I think I know this.
I remember that one, yeah.
Everybody's got one, Luke. Everybody's got one hint.
It's too early for Admiral, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh. Blooming heck. Do you know, shocker. I can't tell you what year that is. I know the crest.
You can have a look at the label. You can see it on the label nearly.
It's slightly blurred, isn't it? But it is on the label.
Oh, I can't see that, Johnny. My word.
It's a good job I didn't use high-res pictures for this.
Yeah, you're not right. It's no, I'm gonna have to give it a pass.
Can I jump in?
Poz, did you say you knew what this was?
Can I have a quick go? Because I'm less likely to get it right than Johnny.
Go on then.
Is it blogs?
Your blogs, yeah.
Oh, no, hang on.
Wrong.
Hang on, I've gone backwards.
Hey,
There you go. Blogs. It is.
Everybody's got one, Luke. Joe Blogs.
Joe Blog. No, I wouldn't have got that. I know the crest. That's the Rubery area, isn't it?
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to whisper that slightly. I preferred that one, but we'll move on.
Oh,
Hot takes.
Whoa.
Hot takes.
It's controversial.
I don't like Shields, but we're not talking about Chris. Who's next? We have Simon. You are next. Sadly, you don't get a point for that one. We have this one, and this one I remember went pink in the wash. And there used to be a picture in the program of Simon Baldry wearing a pink and white shirt at one point.
is this Admiral?
Is that your final answer?
It's not, because I can see Johnny shaking his head, but I can't think who else it could be.
They are getting slightly harder as this quiz as it's moving on. Johnny?
VOI, I think it was.
There you go. It was VOI.
There's a story behind that, actually. The original one was the other way around with the colours, and then they switched it. How sad am I, really?
This is why Luke said you'd win the quiz.
Yeah.
I can see now.
You shouldn't have invited him on.
They only let me out for special occasions.
Right then, the last one is Dan Porritt.
Oh, do you know what? I had one of these and I've only recently sold it. Start of this season, sold it to there's a collector on Twitter with the Huddersfield Town.
Are you stalling while you're searching for the answer in the back of your mind?
No, it's I do know it. I'm sure it begins with B. I can't remember exactly. Is it Booker or is that close enough to get a point?
Shall we give him that?
Yeah.
Oh, you said it.
Yeah,
then.
that's
Booker.
fair.
Booker, yeah, that's the one.
There you go. We'll give you that one. So good effort.
86.
Yeah. That was a harder one, so we'll definitely give you that one. So the next one is going to be guess the sponsor. So we'll come back and we'll stop sharing for now, and we'll go on to our next bit as it goes down into more general marketing terms now. So probably you're around. It's probably going to be a quick one as well. I've started off with a big list of things, and it's getting thinner as it's going on. It's like when I used to do university work. But the first thing I've got really is the Premier League was obviously a difference changer for Huddersfield Town, in many, on and off the pitch. What impact did the Premier League have in terms of overseas interaction? So you can talk about it from your guys' perspective, in terms of sales. Because I remember people from Canada and whatnot, America going, I'm going to adopt Huddersfield as my team, and then sending, buying shirts online and paying for postage to, Wisconsin or wherever, all sorts. And there were all sorts of weird and wonderful places popping up wanting Huddersfield shirts. And it was a good time, wasn't it? That era. Have we maintained any of that? Or was that kind of the Premier League a one-time only deal, really?
Johnny, do you want this or do you want me?
No, I'll start. Happy to start. Yeah, the Premier League obviously gets eyeballs on the club that would never have been able to reach before. I think COVID's had a bit of an effect on it now for things that we could have done. I can only talk in things like our database and things like that, of which we've still got all of the information and people on there that show in Huddersfield Town. The Premier League also gave us quite a lot of information about people that rated us as a favourite club or second favourite club. So we do quite a lot with that information. It's a tricky one, really. I mean, our hardcore fans really are the bread and butter for us. But we do have quite a lot of people abroad that still follow the club. So yeah, it definitely raised some awareness, but it certainly tailed off. It would be wrong for me to say anything else. But like I say, the COVID thing has not helped us with that as well, I think. But we've still got them, and we still communicate with them, and Luke will know more about the sales side of it as well, of where we ping shirts across the globe. So
I'm gonna say, Luke, what would be the most sort of obscure place maybe that you've sent a shirt? Obviously, we don't need their address, GDPR purposes and whatnot. But where would you say is probably the most far away place we've maybe posted?
You probably name it, and we've had an order for it at some point. So I obviously have to be careful and not get myself into trouble. So there are some places where we have sent shirts, and you look at the tracking information, they've just never got out of customs. So that's always a bit of a tricky one. We've sent really obscure orders of shirts as well. So like Premier League, and you'd send an X amount of shirts. So say like a bundle of 10 shirts to Far East, and you wonder, well, what's kind of going on there, sort of thing. So Premier League wise, it was absolutely mental. Literally, you could probably name a country and we sent a shirt to it. From the sales point of view, so probably from a Premier League point of view, what happened with retailers, you got like pockets of madness. So from the minute that Aaron became a household name in our Premier League side, we were just sending absolutely loads over to Australia. Obviously, the German influence in the side, we were sending loads over there. America ran, Johnny, they did the program, didn't they? The NBC promoted series.
Yeah.
And from there, that got the image of Huddersfield Town over there. So yeah, it just went a bit crazy, really. And you had America, Germany, and Australia sort of leading the way for international, but then everywhere else sort of like started popping up. And then you used to get a few random ones. I know we had quite a bit Egypt way as well when we had Sobi, who I know didn't feature that often, but it still had an effect on what people were buying overseas. So, but yeah, probably to echo what Johnny said, there is still your core fans that we know and interact with in America, in Australia, that we still send to them every year. But from the wider appeal, that was kind of exclusive to that league, as it were, and the eyes that brought with it.
We've done things before which perhaps fans aren't aware of, simply because they're often not in those regions. But we did things in Denmark, didn't we, Luke? Where we went over and took Lossell and Billing and went into one of the shops. We did. We've done Facebook target marketing to areas in Australia that we know of. Aaron is or was popular. We've done bits in Germany around the Hef and the range of the Hef stuff. So to Dynamo Dresden fans. So we probably do more than perhaps our fans realise. But at the end of the day, target marketing, and we wouldn't expect them to know really, because it's all directed to the people that we need it to. So we've done bits quite successfully.
Apologies for this as well, because this is a bit scatter, is this round, if you like, this round of questions from me. But there's a very sort of changing face of social media now, and it's I think at one point Twitter was quite was it a happy place maybe at one point, but it seemed to be a bit more jovial at one point, more memes than anger, if you like. Obviously that's changing. Can posting on social media, do you think, maybe damage? And obviously I'm going to say this, not you guys, but I see a lot of Huddersfield Town tweets, and then underneath it's just a load of nonsense from fans of other clubs. I'm a big hater of what they refer to as football Twitter, and there's sort of just endless comments of nonsense underneath from what you presume is a younger end of getting to grips with social media for the first time. And do you think that ever negatively affects, they always say never read the comments, etc. I know, but do you think sometimes you guys could put, you put a great video out the other day, which Poz was there, where you front and center singing and dancing in the, in your south stand and whatnot about,
Yeah, I tell you, they put me on the shop, they put me on video.
On commission, aren't you, as well?
All for free as well.
Yeah.
But,
you
stick something like that out. Do you think it ever has a negative effect, the response can have on that at all? Just a question from left field, really.
Yeah, I think it's a tricky one. I mean, the alternative is not to put anything out at all, which then doesn't reward the fans that actually respect the things that you want it to do. So I think you've got to take it with a pinch of salt, sadly, with social media. I don't think it's ever got to a situation we thought we're not going to post anything because of the bad reaction. But it is something that we're aware of, and that I know our comms guys are very, very keen on keeping an eye on, and trying to get, you know, a situation where we don't have that. But there is that element out there, and it can sometimes be a little demoralising when you've worked hard on a project and then it gets ripped to shreds by often people that aren't even Huddersfield Town fans. So it'd be wrong of me to say no, but we just kind of we're used to it. I think it's probably the best way of putting it, which is not an indictment of how it should be, but you just got to get on with it and remember the true fans like you guys that are out there, and you know, and want things from the club. So you just keep going with it.
Yeah, I thought that video was great. Anyway, the last few that you stuck out, so I'll definitely give you that for sure. Some other things as well is Poz, did you want to say something there? I thought I heard someone.
That was me just saying here.
Okay, cool. Right. Okay. So in terms of videos, I'm a sucker for a video like that. You know, that's what I like to see. You know, that sort of video content. There is some, you know, there's some really good stuff that comes out to celebrate clubs, kits, achievements. Is this something, you know, when you look at your strategy, if you like, do you think videos, that sort of side of things, are sort of, would you say, the top of your agenda, if you like, for getting, you know, a decent video out there, like the FA Cup one, you know, we just said it was really good. Do you think that's the most powerful way to market something?
I think it changes depending on the point of when you launch is really. So I think it's very important to have a good launch video at the beginning, because that's when you get a lot of the eyeballs. It's a matter of then following it through. It's one of them where you've watched a video once, do you go back and watch it 4, 5, 6 times? I think it's that impact thing with the video, whereas then follow it through with the social media and the graphics that throw you back to the video and the memories that you have, like we've done with Poz and what have you, just to reiterate and re-emphasize the message, really. We're very lucky. We've got a very good video team at the club, so we do all them videos internally, and they work really well for us. And we are very lucky that we've got the people that we have to do them.
Absolutely. I think it's difficult for it. Must be just be picking up from what you say in there, guys. It must be really difficult. I mean, I've been critical of things that happen at Huddersfield Town, and you know, I like to think of one of those that if I don't think it's right, I'll say, but try to be a little bit constructive rather than, you know, it's crap and all. And then if it's good, again, say it's good and as to why. But when you take a step back, and as I've got older and probably less forthright with my opinion and consider things a little bit better than what I maybe used to do in the past, I think going through the experience of being at a football club, it must be really difficult, because a lot of brands have a target audience of maybe an age range of maybe 10 years, where a football club can have a target audience of someone like my lad who's 5, right up to 60, 70, 80-year-olds, and all of those people will expect a different message, because you try to make it as personal as you can. So if you try and target someone at 19 with a video, I would look and think, what on earth is all this nonsense? Because I don't understand it. It's not my sort of genre. And likewise, if you try and do something for the older and the younger, aren't going to be engaged by it. So it must be really difficult to pick a theme for a campaign. And the one that's come out at the moment, I think, is probably one of the ones that has been done really well, and the thing behind it touches everybody from the kids right up, because no one's been able to go, so it hits home with every age group. But apart from that, it must be really difficult to think who do we aim the kit at, because everybody buys a kit, like say, right from kids all the way up. How do you sort of weigh up? Do you pick a range at either end, or do you just think we're just going to try cover everyone, or a bit of everything?
Yeah, you try and cover everyone, to be honest. Regards to messages, we use a different medium. So if you follow us on TikTok, you'll get a very different experience to if you follow us on Facebook.
Right.
Try and target roughly on age demographics. You're right with the video. I mean, without wishing to go on, but the video that we pulled together, we literally sat in a room and through all the things that we were missing as football fans, and then wrote that script. But we purposely took kind of the age range of the office, someone who was 20, someone who's 40, and someone who's in the 50s, and kind of said, what do you miss? And then pulled all that together. So you can't please everyone all of the time, and you've got to have a level of trying to do the right thing that you think is right for the fan base overall.
Yeah, just on that as well, fellas. I remember the day that Johnny phoned me and wanted to read that script out to me. How much have you cut out of the actual one, Johnny? Because I swear to God, we were on that phone for about half an hour, the first one.
Yeah, that script, it's a 3-minute video. We started off, I think it was about 8 minutes long, and we just had to literally cut all the things we wanted out of it and just pull it right down. So yeah, close to our hearts, really, that one.
Yeah, Twitter obviously is 2 minutes 20, isn't it? The video length that it allows you. So yeah, I've fallen foul of that quite a lot. But I've also noticed as well that if you put the video on YouTube and then link it, nobody looks at it. So it's best to go directly onto Twitter, and then when you stick it on Facebook, if there's a one note that sounds like something, it pulls it, which is always fun. There we go. Enough about me. Right. So Luke, one thing you mentioned as well about which has just got me thinking as well, it wasn't on my original thing, was you mentioned that sometimes you get left with a lot of shirts. What do you do with this sort of excess shirts? Do you keep them in a store cupboard? Do you ever send them out to, you know, I've seen before, I think you guys have sent them to Sierra Leone. There's a football team, isn't there? Huddersfield Town, I think it is, in Sierra Leone and stuff like that. What do you guys usually do with them?
So what with excess shirts, I mean, we haven't been in a terrible or a bad situation, shall we say, for a few years. But what we tend to do is we will have a price point that will adhere to. So, for example, you can pick up, I mean, there isn't that many left, but you can pick up a last season shirt, I think, for £20 at the minute. At that point, that we will carry on selling them until we think, do you know what? The people who want them for like five-a-side, or, you know, like to kick around on a Sunday league or whatever it be, have got them. And then at that point, we use the Huddersfield Town Foundation. And what those guys do over there, which is fantastic, they will distribute to, you know, overseas, like you've said, and then really sort of where they see fit and have done their research about where it's going to be best used and where, not so much brand or anything like that, just actually where it's going to be thankfully received, sort of thing. So yeah, no credit from our point of view. That's the foundation. But as I say, we haven't been in such a tricky situation. So last year, where a lot of football clubs probably found themselves in a bit of a tricky situation, given obviously COVID came along and you know, sales were impacted and everything. We obviously had the one-off shirt sponsorship, so we had to sort of give Brookie all our stuff. So it were a bit of an interesting season, I think, for most. But yeah, so to answer your question, it's the Huddersfield Town Foundation that distribute any excess kit remaining.
That's really cool. That's really good. That's a really good thing what the foundation do. Another good thing that the foundation do. So that's really good to hear for sure. I've got no more questions on that unless you guys have got anything. Otherwise, it'll be round 4 of the quiz and who can catch Mr. Wilkinson. Nope. Shall we move on? No one's catching him, either. No one's catching him. I think it's a foregone conclusion.
Cheating.
If he turns his monitor around, he's got all his 150 shirts.
Yeah, he's got historical kits next to him. I'm telling you now.
We'll have to try and find something different. Right. Okay. So I'll share my screen again, and we'll go with screen 2. Okay. So the next round is going to be guess the sponsor. Luke, I think you're first one up.
Let's do it.
So what I've done is I've not even used Photoshop for this. I've used Microsoft, like the snipping tool, so no expense spared for this one. So guess the sponsor, number one.
Oh, no sponsor. Or technically Paddy Power, but obviously didn't appear on the shirt.
I thought that might catch someone out. I'll be honest. That was me up to no good.
I'm going to go out on a lim and say that could be 2 points there, I think. Maybe.
Unsponsored. If it catches, do you know, I don't think 2 points would catch you up with Johnny.
No, that's a gone.
But yeah, that was the.
Yeah, really nice shirt, that one, actually.
Yeah, it's a decent one. That I thought the Paddy Power ones were really good, to be fair. That season. Right, so next is Simon.
That's a Radiant B.
I thought that might trick someone, but it didn't. But there we go. Next is Pozza.
Wow, we've done a really good job on Microsoft Paint there, Matt, blending that, just so you know. That was Yorkshire Air Ambulance.
Oops, that's right, Yorkshire Air Ambulance. And then, sorry, my little boy just came and opened the door, then looked at me and walked off. So, Johnny, you're next.
Casino Red.
Straight away, look, casinored.com. Shall we dock him a point for saying?
I'll say .com if you want.
Not that tight. And then the last one is Brady.
I don't think I've ever seen this kit.
I've done a splendid job there with the paint.
I remember that one.
What year is this, Matt?
This is late 80s, is this?
Oh,
probably before you were born, really.
Greenhalls. I don't know.
There you go. Well done.
Hey!
Yeah.
Well done.
There we go. So after round 4, going to the last one, Johnny's got 4 out of 4. Poz, you've got 3. Brady's got 2. Luke's got 2. And Simon's got 2. So you're all not doing too badly. We'll stop sharing and we'll move into one of the latter rounds. Right. Okay. So this is a more retail chat now. So this is our last section, guys. So I think a good way to open this. So in terms of retail, do you find a lot of resistance, or maybe that's not the right word, but in terms of the pricing point, how do you guys work out the pricing point for the shirts, for the training gear, etc., and even sort of down to the t-shirts that you guys get in there's the one with terriers on, etc. How do you guys work out that pricing point? And do you ever? And obviously, we're from Yorkshire, aren't we? So you're obviously going to get some resistance to that at some point. But just how does that work out? How do you guys work it out?
Yeah, I mean, so from a pricing point of view, we have a margin that we always try and adhere to. And the rationale behind that is we have obviously the outgoing costs of running the shop. We have the purchase of the goods, so the cost of goods. And then at the same time, we'll always have a look at what sort of the industry is doing. So we're £48 for a replica shirt for an adult one, which, they would be, from when we were doing our pricing, we were having a look. There's usually only maybe 1 or 2 that were on par or even just maybe slightly cheaper. So, yeah, from a pricing point of view, I mean, I know we were talking earlier, Matt, and you look at like the England shirt and thing now, and it's like 70 quid, and then there's the stadium version, and then there's the pro version. So yeah, I mean, we don't overcomplicate it. We look at what the industry is. We monitor pricing for comparable, and really go from there. We don't outprice anything. We want to get ideally the margin, but it's got to be right as well at the same time. There's no point in going for the margin if it's not worth it at that point.
Just on that, Luke, what sort of percentage of, if you can say, do we take as a club from each shirt sale? Reason I ask is I was reading something on Twitter. Liverpool had put something out about the cost of the shirt. A load of replies from fans saying it's a disgrace and it's far too much, and somebody put quite a detailed reply to it, and which I thought were interesting, and it was saying that out of a £60 shirt at Liverpool, they only get about 20% of that, and that's one of the highest. Usually it's between 7 and 10. Obviously, without going into exact figures, if you can't, just sort of by explanation to fans, because I've been one in the past myself of 40 quid for the shirt, that's 40 quid to Huddersfield Town, and in reality, that's probably not the case, is it?
Yeah, no, it's not the case, and you're quite right, Danny. It would be unfair. It would be well, it wouldn't be right of me to go into the exacts, but so I suppose the very beginning of this conversation is the shirt price or the cost of a good is all intertwined with the kit deal that you do with your supplier, basically. So you can, and I'll be brutally honest, the way a kit deal tends to work is it's almost like a seesaw. You can have X amount of sponsorship fee, gift of kit, which is basically free of charge kit for the first team. But then the more you have on this side, the higher your shirt price. So what we try and tend to do for a club point of view is find a balance where Pro have, or Brookie has X amount to spend. And then that means that we have a shirt price. And you're quite right. So in the shirt price, we have to consider the actual cost of good. There's then the application of sponsor. So if we have to do that in the UK, that all has to be charged by the club. And then obviously you've got your tax and everything on top of that. That is what it is. And only then do you start talking about, well, now you've got to pay the staff to sell it. You've got to pay your e-commerce platform for selling it on. You've got to pay your outgoings on your shop, your system to sell it in the shop. So there's quite a lot that at the end of the day, the bottom line's considered. But yeah, you've got quite a lot of outgoings when it comes to your shirt, not just the cost of it as well.
One of the things that I was going to ask earlier, but I just get a chance, just when we were chatting about the brand, sort of moving from Puma to Umbra, I'd imagine you worldwide bigger clubs, your Barcelona's, Man United, Real Madrid, somebody like Adidas will approach Liverpool and say, we want to make your kit, we will pay you X millions of pounds to enable us to do that. Somewhere like Town, do Umbra go to Town, go to Umbra? How does it, or any other manufacturer, how does that side of it work in regards to generating income? Do Umbra say we'll pay you £1 million to be your brand, or do Huddersfield Town go to Umbra and say, we'll sell X amount of shirts with Umbra on it and give you a percentage of sales? Or a bit of both, maybe.
Yeah, it's about what the club feel is the right deal for us. And then at that point, we would structure the kit deal for what's right. So we tend to not go for the huge sponsorship fee so that we know that first team are going to be kitted out right and they're going to have what they need whilst also balancing the shirt price. So we sort of go for the boring middle ground, if I'm honest. In terms of approach them, the reality of it is at the end of the day, there is the business. It's the business of kit. So Umbra will make money off Huddersfield Town. That's why they're in business. The same as if Adidas was with Huddersfield Town, Puma, and everyone else. Sometimes we would proactively approach them, and then they would come and almost do a bit of a beauty parade as to, well, this is what we can offer, Y and Z. On other occasions, it tends to be an industry known as to when we will end that contract with that supplier, because obviously we release it to the fans 9 times out of 10. So there's a roster of who's in place to change and move and everything else like that. So that's kind of how the whole process sort of works. And then really it's for me, Jonathan, the board to do their due diligence on the company to make sure that that's right for Huddersfield Town and meets the expectation of fan base, really.
Yeah, it's just interesting because, you never scale clubs, without being disrespectful to the town, we've got a ceiling of how many we'll ever sell. And it's just interesting to know a club of our level, who's the driving, is it us or them? But it sounds like it's very much we'll work together and get a deal that suits both parties kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Thanks, Poz. We'll go to one of our Twitter questions, and it was from Cameron Fry, and he asks, so this goes back to the England shirt, really, Luke. what are the exact differences between an actual team shirt and the replica shirt that you buy in the shop?
Absolutely nothing. To the point where, genuine story, whenever there's a blood shirt needed, that obviously that's just an unbranded Huddersfield Town shirt, if Brookie finds it easier to just run into the back of the shop and grab one off the hook, it happens. I promise you now, that has happened many a times. I'm trying to remember which play it was. I seem to think when Hudson played for us, that was a case of, right, I need to do that. And then at halftime then, if there isn't a third shirt, because I mean, they obviously all swap at halftime nowadays on 90% of them, for example. He'll usually ask us to print one at halftime and then we drop it off. So yeah, the replica shirt that you buy, to be fair, there's probably no need to call them replicas, but the shirt that you buy off the peg in the shop is the same as the players are wearing. We don't have a performance one or a non-performance one or anything like that. Ironically, when it comes to tight fit, players will usually prefer the skin and then top over the top rather than just like a tight top, because that almost sometimes stops you or restricts you from wearing the skin. So yeah, no difference whatsoever.
That's good to know. So it's not like the England shirt at all, where you pay about 150 quid for one and then 75 for the other or something daft, isn't it?
No, yeah. Yeah, and you almost regret eating your dinner, don't you, if you're wearing one of them shirts? Not for me.
A white one as well. The other
amazing,
thing
just quickly on that, Luke. It's amazing. I've got a couple of match ones and like a couple up on his wall. Into the crowd, or we've been lucky enough to get hold of him. And you look at players on the pitch, and I've got one from Zanka, and you look at him and think, big fella, big centre half and stuff, and he wears like a medium man shirt, and you look at him thinking you've got to be like an XL at least. And I've put it on and I'm thinking, bloody hell, I thought I was doing all right here, and then you put it on and it's skin tight. So it's amazing, like you say, about the style that different players will want. Some will want them baggy, some will want them tight, and I suppose it just goes down to personal preference there, doesn't it?
Yeah, I tell you, the hardest players to get right are the ones that are sort of like really top heavy, but then tall. So Colin were really difficult to get a shirt right for him because he was incredibly thin, but quite built at the top, and he were really tall as well. So I think Colin used to take an XL on one of the shirts, but it used to look really baggy as well. And then there are players as well, in fairness, that get a little bit, needy with a fit. So, like, I won't mention him because I'd genuinely be scared of him. But there's one player at his squad at the minute that really likes, like, the tight arms sort of thing and likes to look the part, as it were. So
Alex Pritchard.
You guys guess who that is. I'm not saying no. But yeah, like, they like the tight fitting around the arms and the taper and stuff. So, yeah, it's one of them. But you're quite right, Dan. Some of these guys wear medium, and, for me, it's a pipe dream. I just
I think we all know that reason.
Just following on from that, sorry, Max, I'm really going off course here, but it's probably a subject that probably no one else really cares about. So, quickly as you can. But I've noticed what's the thing with the socks these days, where players just cut the bottom of the socks off and wear like a random pair of socks. I know Liverpool actually designed their socks with the white halfway up to get around the rule of you're not really allowed to do that. Is that something that annoys the club, that players are hacking into shirts and cutting bottoms of socks?
No, so and I don't know if this is obvious, or I might actually, this might be a market next year, for example. So Brookie actually orders 2/3 footless and 1/3 foot socks now. So it's literally just like a tube sock that's off at the foot. And the reason is players nowadays, I won't say it's a new thing, maybe last sort of 3-4 years, they all have these grip socks that I'm sure, kids at some point will be saying, that's what I want. But where it's like, like almost like rubber bits on the bottom so it doesn't move in the foot. But you never will get a replica sock with those on the bottom. So what it tends to do is that you'll put your sort of a pro grip sock or whatever the company's called that you tend to use, as it were. For this, we'll say Umbra's Protect sock. And then you pull that on, which would match the colour, and then your footless sock goes over, and then it tends to be an ankle tape sort of situation. and it's just purely for those rubber bits on the bottom. So there's a bit of friction in the boot. That tends to be why. But yeah, Brookie on 2/3 footless now and a third with the actual foot on. I have no idea why players start cutting the back of it. That became a thing, didn't it? We're cutting like holes on the calf area. Not a clue on that one, but that's why the socks don't have the foot in. It's for those grip things, as it were.
Yeah, just Brookie's a big guy, and I can't imagine him being like that. Sorry, go on, Johnny.
It's the feel of the foot. So a thick football sock, as we all remember from school, is like thick, whereas the thinner socks give them more feel on the ball. So they've got more contact, so they can feel more precision with it, basically. So
boots are tight as well now, aren't they? They're kind of really light and tight. Whereas when I used to play, me and Simon, when we used to be goalkeepers, used to get the big, heavy, concrete boots, didn't you? Where so you could kick the ball a mile. So with long studs in and what have you. But yeah, that's a good question, that Poz, for sure.
They even have. Sorry, Matt, I jumped in there, but
that's all right.
They even have like the boot oven. I don't know if you've seen that, Johnny, but where boots in it, stretch them a little bit, and then all of a sudden you get like that little bit of wiggle room for your foot to just basically squeeze in. There's a lot that goes into it nowadays.
We used to sit in the bath with them, didn't we, Poz? Do you remember when they used to get new boots? And
you
used to sit in the bath with them.
Leather boots and get a bollocking off your mum for ruining bath with your boots.
All stud backs on the bottom end.
Yeah.
Good time.
Stuff in a newspaper. I remember doing all that. Yeah.
Luke, one thing that came up as well was the battle between fans liking embroidered logos and the iron-on stuff. What's the decision making that I presume the embroidered stuff's more expensive and eats into the overhead, so I guess?
Well, we don't tend to feel that because we say as a club we want embroidered. Obviously, second year of Premier League, we tried the rubberized logo. It didn't work. So we've always gone embroidered kits, and then at that point after that, training wear is almost always now a vinyl, just from a performance point of view, and there's no rub or anything like that. But yeah, certainly our mantra is that the Huddersfield Town crest is embroidered. That's what I'm pretty certain insane fans prefer, and that's what we'll maintain.
Absolutely. And speaking of fans as well, there's when you go on Instagram these days, you usually get all sorts of random adverts come up, don't you? And there's other stuff like, I'm not going to throw the names in because people will Google it, but you get other football related retailers loosely. I'll use that loosely because it's usually just a chap with an order, isn't it, somewhere? But there are a lot of stuff that come up, with town shirts with different, so there's one with a black terrier that you can get, I think, online somewhere, all sorts of other stuff. How does this, do you ever sort of look at these and think, yeah, they're okay, maybe, out of football, throw one in because, they're not too bad with, what they do. Do you ever sort of, I think you've partnered with them before, haven't you, in other clubs? Do you ever sort of look at them and think we could partner with them, or is there a bit more to it than just sort of saying, oh yeah, we like those, well, why do you want to sell this in the club shop?
Yeah, well, we always try and keep an eye on things that are relevant for fans like, because at the end of the day, fans are the people that we're trying to appease in what me and Jonathan do. A really good example was obviously the Peter O'Toole, the legend stuff that we've just come on or that we've just released. Peter's a known artist among town fans, does really, really good stuff. Certainly in my opinion, seems to get a really good reaction. And we said to Peter, look, we can use companies that produce leisurewear, produce, merchandise, but sometimes the difficulty is having a non-town fan design something for town fans. So that's why we look to Peter to do, like we say, the Legends range, where you've got like the team of Andy Boobs, which is obviously the famous cheer sort of thing. The Legends of Leeds Road, which, it's all relative or all... it works for town fans, it works for us, and obviously it gets Peter out there a bit as well. But when it comes to like the art of football and things, we just tend to look at the trends. If people like that, great. If people are saying comments on, could we? So going back to it then, when it comes to like the art of football and things, what we will try and do is just have a look, see what town fans think. If people are genuinely thinking, or if we look at comments and we see positive things, we'll try and take what's positive and see if we can do his own spin, see if companies want to work with us, and go from there, really, because it just gives us genuine constructive criticism on merchandise and how we can develop it a little bit.
Okay, that's a good one. Simon, you wanted to ask a question, didn't you, about the retail side?
Yeah, forgive me, but I was interested from your point of view, where you see things moving like in the next 5 years. What's kind of the ambitions for yourself, Luke, and Jonathan? Kind of what's kind of on your agenda over the kind of the next coming few seasons?
So, I mean, we'll talk about the range now. So what we're always trying to do is, as Jonathan just moves it further away so we can see each other. So what we're trying to do is, we know that from a football club, design obviously plays a key importance, but obviously actual quality of merchandise as well. So for this autumn winter with leisure wear, we've actually done a full consignment range in almost partnership with Top 24, because we know those guys produce really good stuff. We know the brand is strong. We know that their QC checks are really, really sort of due diligent on their factories and things. So what you'll see us doing is partnering with companies that we know produce good product. There's obviously town fans over at Top 24 that work in and amongst. So what we want to do is develop merchandise which really covers all, which is like your quality, your design, your price point, hitting it all right. And then hopefully at that point continue to develop. We've also brought in a few licenses which allow fans to go and get personalised merchandise, which, you know, you can put your name on it, you can sort of make it your own kind of thing, car mats, things like that. So, yeah, just really continuing to develop, Simon.
That sounds good. And one thing that's often talked about amongst town fans, and it kind of links into the article that's been released today around the development of the kind of stadium megastore. How do you see that evolving? Do you kind of see more temporary buildings, fewer temporary buildings, another permanent site? What do you think that looks like in 5 years' time?
So, if you'd have asked me 2 years ago, it would have been a different answer, because for the simple reason that I would have said that our shop isn't big enough. The irony of where retail sees itself now, and you know, it's not just exclusive to Huddersfield Town, I'm sure you gentlemen will see it on the high street, is for a year and a half, we've almost all been used to shopping online, which from an e-commerce point of view, obviously we have shop.hgfc.com. So we've already got that sort of set up and that works for the best part. But so from a shop point of view, it's probably refurb. Then let's see, obviously we've got a little extension to what we have, because the Giants are going to be no longer in the store. So we've got all that side to it as well. We've had new LEDs put in the roof, so that's going to make it a bit brighter in there, which was always maybe a little bit dark, because obviously it's in the overhang of the stadium. And then at that point of view, we will look at what do game days look like. Is it a nuisance almost to shop on a game day? How can we make that easier? How can we make click and collect more open on a game day, where if you don't want a queue, you come, you've already done your shopping, you want to grab and go, and then you're not waiting half an hour, you're not worried about getting back to your car and all that kind of thing. So there's certainly development areas, but I think we will learn as we go along. And the main thing for us is that when we learn, we actually do something and we try different methods and what works for us and what doesn't. You know, I mean, the overall is we use the e-commerce so that people have done the shopping and then we make it easy to them, whether that be bring it to you or not. These are just all things that we need to explore, really.
Yeah, it's interesting. I live quite close to the White Rose shopping centre, and that's getting increasingly empty by the day. And you're right to say definitely the retail landscape's changing and has changed quite significantly. So what the world looks like now and what it's going to look like in, I say 5 years, but probably in 18 months, 2 years, I think will be quite different. And it's good to be probably in a position where the club can be quite flexible around that, I think.
Agreed.
Right. Anybody got anything else before we go into the final round of the quiz and wrap it all up and crown Jonathan as the champion? I think as it's
just a quick one, lads, because I realise we've been grilling you like pretty much all evening, so I appreciate that. But I suppose in terms of ideas for stuff, because Luke, when I spoke to Proud Terriers, they talked about how you were, very willing and very helpful with stuff. I think they talked particularly about like a mug you brought in and how that sold out, a Proud Terriers mug. Is that something the club is more interested in doing going forward if people have ideas? I'm not opening it so you get an idea from every Tom, Dick and Harry, but is that something the club's looking to do more going forward, kind of listen to new ideas, suggest stuff in the shop?
Yeah, of course. And it all goes back to that conversation of whilst 100% our department won't please everybody. We get that, but if you get comments like that all of a sudden, that like with the Proud Terriers work with like the Pride mug and things, people reacted positively when we started talking about that. So if that's what the fans want at that point, then we will try and appease that as much as we can. We can't say, it's a really random one, this, but every now and then you'll get the odd conversation of, well, when's the next gnome going to come up? Because gnomes prove extremely popular at Huddersfield Town. Honestly, the amount we've sold for Father's Day is staggering, but we also have to be realistic by saying mugs we can order X amount of. Gnomes we have to order quite a lot, like huge amounts of it. So we would never do a specific mug if only sort of like 5 people are asking, a specific gnome, if only 5 people are asking, it wouldn't be feasible, and we'd probably be left with X amount of gnomes, like making a mad gnome wall. So we've got to be realistic, but we really like the ideas that come up. And like I say, anything that we can work together with fans, that's who ultimately we want to appease, certainly with Jonathan inside of it, because, and at the same time, we're Town fans ourselves, so we can have a look. We know who's out there. We know we try and look at what people are saying, and if we can get on there from a retail point of view, and yes, of course, make money for the football club, then that's absolutely what we'd do.
It's got to be right for the club, and our doors are open to listen to any ideas, and that's a good, for instance, is the Proud Terriers, but on the same hand, we have to have a sense of realism in there that what one person might want, but a minimum order quantity is 100. If we sat with 99, the logistics of it are that loses the club money. So we have to be mindful of that all the time. So it's a balance, really. It's making sure that we listen to people and take on the good ideas, and then if things can't work, then we've got to have our business hats on with it, really.
One thing I really liked, I went to the FC Barcelona shop. I know that's a completely different stratosphere, isn't it, over there? And this was the first time I went, so this was 5 or 6 years ago. And what they did at that point, I think Nike was the manufacturer of the kit. So what they had is they had absolutely loads of Nike shirts in there, just random ones, golf ones, and all sorts. And then you could take it to the kiosk or the till, if you like, and they actually had several different badges that they'd used over the past. So like for Town, for example, the Barry Rubery one, the HTFC and stuff. And what they were doing is they would pick their favorite badge and they would just press it on along with, name and stuff. And I always thought that was quite a simple yet quite effective one, whereby you could have your favorite badge logo or whatnot. You could have a red terrier like Poz has got and all that stuff. And I always thought that was quite cool. Obviously, you can't do that on shirts, can you? Because of the sponsorship and the manufacturers and stuff. But I always thought that was pretty cool. Just to throw something random in.
Yeah, fair shout, that. Fair shout. We've got the equipment to do it, so fair shout, that, Matt.
Yeah, I'll leave that with you. So, and we'll move on to yeah.
Just want 5% of our sales.
Yeah, I just recorded as this, so I've got proof as well. Right, so we're going on to the last round, which
is the Garden Gnome round.
No, just ask Luke. How many gnomes? How many gnomes are we talking here? Because I'm staggered by that. I can't quite get my head around that.
We have to order every time it's like 1,000 gnomes split over like 3 designs. But literally, the Terrier store the week before Father's Day, it's like it's sort of like almost your typical person to buy it as well. It's all the same. It's like the mother and children or whatever it be coming in and going, right, what do I get? What do I get? And they're always walking out with a gnome. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I tell you, one day we'll have to drive around Huddersfield and see how many we can find.
You could have like a map, couldn't you, as well? Create a map.
Yeah.
Cool. So first up this time is Simon. So this will give you 3 out of 5, Simon, and obviously redeem your efforts from last time in the end of season quiz. This last round is guess the player. So what I've done is I've put a slightly random player in a shirt. In fact, I've just stolen pictures from the internet. Is pretty much what I've done. So and what you've got to do is just guess which player this is. So Simon, you are up first, and your first player rolls back to that CasinoRed.com centenary shirt. Who is this fine gentleman?
Malvin Kamara.
That's correct. So Simon, you end up with 3. So decent effort that. So yep. So that was Malvin Kamara. Next is Poz.
Tony Cars? No. Yeah, no. Steve, is Steve Yates?
It is Steve Yates. So Poz, you've ended up with 4 out of 5. So as far as we're concerned, you're the Quizmaster General of Andy Chapter this time. So well done.
So yeah, my strength lies in kits, not again.
Let's see who's next. Is the next one difficult enough to catch Mr. Wilkinson out? I don't think it is, but there we go.
Oh, God. Dare I say his name? George Donis.
There you go. George Donis wins Mr. Wilkinson the quiz. I don't know why.
That's a swear word, isn't it?
It's a rare shot of him running.
Yeah. And the last one, Brady, to get 3 as well, is this one.
I know who it is. It's Luke been.
It's what?
Don't know. No, sorry. It's Luke been on the quiz. It's Ivan Porovic, isn't it? Yeah.
I've put you next, yeah. It is Ivan Porovic. And the last person to go on the quiz is Luke. Oh. And your man is that one. It's probably the most difficult one.
Oh, on loan from, is it Hughes? Emre Hughes?
I'll give you that. Emre Hughes.
Yeah, on loan from...
Was it Man City or Birmingham or something at the time?
Was it Ipswich, wasn't it? Or did he go to Ipswich?
He started at Man City, didn't he? And maybe someone bought him, I think. And he came from there, but he was a Man City kid, wasn't he? But there we go. That's it for this episode of Andy Takes That Chance. Jonathan Wilkinson came, saw, conquered the quiz. I want to say a big thank you to you two guys for coming on here and spending a good 2 hours with us talking about all sorts there. It's really appreciated from us. So thank you very much. And I'm sure people who listen will enjoy the input as well. And there's obviously a lot of little pearls in there that you've dropped in that I think a lot of people like me, weren't aware of. So thank you very much, guys, for doing that. And before we go, have we got any final things that anybody wants to raise?
Season cards, deadline 30th of June.
I better buy mine. Right, guys, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Cheers.
Yes, guys. Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much, both of you. I really appreciate it. Good to talk to you.
Welcome.
Oh, what a night. Late in May in 2017, Schindler scored, it was a heaven dream. What a feeling, what a night. Oh, what a night. Wagner singing, we are Premier League. The greatest sight, St. George's Square did see. What an evening, what a night. Oh, I got a funny feeling when he walks, and a fence, and they commentator yelled he takes that chance. Oh, what a night, lost so safe and mesmerizing me. Low charged and flattened all Chelsea, Stamford Bridge, oh what a night. Whoa, I got a funny feeling when he walked an offense, and then the commentator yelled he takes that chance.